Daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play. Option Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
Dan, I overslept.
That's okay.
I'm gonna just tell the crew right here. I'm gonna tell everybody. This is the first time ever, I think, on the show I've overslept. How asleep am I? I still have the sleep marks like from the pillow on my head. I am in my daughter's room because it's cold outside and I didn't have time to start a cigar. And so
You're out of funk today.
We are live from a teenage girl's bedroom. So anyway, Dan, how you doing?
Doing fine. A little bit of colder weather in the South right now. What's the weather in?
It got cold. It got cold. It blew in yesterday. It was like 50 yesterday morning, and by yesterday evening it was like 20. I think it was 21 last night. So
yeah, no time for you to get your I call it your Chicago Bears outfit, your orange hat, and your
I know no time for it. I'm not a migraine guy. I've never liked them. I know some people love them. I had a migraine last night, and I just went to bed.
That's
and
brutal.
They're brutal, but woke up feeling better. But woke up at 8:47. So
hey, I'm glad you overslept. You probably needed that. And
what a better way to end the year of OO shows.
That's right.
Roy oversleeping. Just thinking to yourself, maybe this quality, maybe they're really on to something. Maybe they're going to up the quality next year. And then just a reminder, at any given moment, this could be done from a girl's bedroom, a teenage girl's bedroom. So
teenage girl.
Yeah. Dan, we had some questions yesterday that were really pressing because we started to talk about the pits. And we started to talk about, things living in the pits. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It is cold. It's colder in Knoxville than it is in Calgary right now. Is what that's crazy.
That's a statement.
So detective, similar, I mean, not quite as extreme, but detective says it was 80 in Dallas Sunday afternoon and 40 12 hours later.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, it was, it just seems a couple days ago we had 70s, but
yeah,
I was thinking about I know you had mentioned at the end of the show yesterday, Rob and Marie were just talking about a few things. One of the questions was on women in the pits, and the other one, I think Rob or Marie were talking about pricing options in the pit. Was that right? How
do you know what the last price was? To make bid ask.
Yeah. And last price. Okay. That's a little, I'll spend a little more time on that, but if I could start with the woman question first.
Of course.
Women in the pits. As I was thinking about that, I would imagine that was Marie's question and not Rob's. I would guess. I could be off on that. But as I think about women in the pits, I'll get the one statement out of women to me, as far as the traders in the pit, the ones who chose to stay down there, were absolutely wonderful. I mean, when you think of like, what's it, Liz and Jenny on the,
Tasty.
over Tasty. I don't know them personally, but having watched them a few times, they are, what I would expect as a woman in the pits, smart, strong, right? Wouldn't take any, what's the word? Guff from anyone. But here's the thing. If you say, were there a lot of women as compared to men? No, but it had nothing to do with ability. Here's my thesis on it. The thesis is, you think about a typical day in the pits, right? When they had it. And that will give you the answer. Typical day in the pits. Okay, the market, 8:30. So you're going from 8:30 in the morning till 3, right? If you're at soybeans and futures options, you're lucky it's a 4-hour day. But so you're in the pit for 8 hours. On most days, right? It's not rocking and rolling all day, right? You have some spots. Well, as a trader, you don't know when it's going to kick in, right? So for the most part, you need to hang around, right? If you take a 2-hour lunch or a 2-hour breakfast, you could miss the whole day, right? So what do you do for those? What do guys do? Especially, I'd say the average pit trader age, you could be early 20s to late 30s, early 40s would be older, right? What do they talk about all day? What would they, in their 80% free time, what are they talking about? Foolish high school stuff, right? Do you agree? Like sports, goofy stuff. And, you'd make bets with each other and, I could eat more eggs than you, stupid stuff, but I loved it. I loved the stupider the better. And, I think a lot of women just, oh boy, do I really want to do this with my life? Do I want to stand next to these guys for 6-7 hours and have them banter on uselessness, right? I think it was deep, talking about sports for 4 or 5 hours. I thought that was deep. I thought we solved problems, and
I probably imagined you solved world hunger many times.
Yeah, we made it or making fun of each other for hours upon hours. But as far as the women that I think of, I remember I was in the IBM pit for a long time. That was one of the bigger trading pits, and the IBM broker in the pit who represented a public order, Lisa, sweetest lady, smartest lady. She's down there for decades. But you know what? She handled, what it was like for her, a lot of the women there? It was like, these are my immature younger brothers, right? And so it's just, she could literally, put it out of her. It's like she paid no attention, right? And she was focused on and she was excellent. So I think there were a lot of very, very, and the ones who decided to stay in the pits, they were good. I think women make very good upstairs trader. I think they're less, at least what I've noticed. I'll go to the retail realm. The women that stay in, right? I think they're less, not in all cases, they're less gamblers than the guys, right? The guys will take a shot.
Oh yeah.
They're going for the fence sometimes, whereas the women are more stable. I think they make good risk managers. They'll follow rules and guidelines. I think a lot of, just my observation, guys will go off the rail quicker, right? Women have a little more, they're less, if you give them a set of guidelines, they'll handle it. Guys, hey, I had a feeling. Tell me about your feeling. It was a deep feeling, Dan. Why I got massively long or massively, why I totally abandoned all risk management guidelines.
Yeah, that's right.
Moving over to prices. Did we, just give me an example, being an IBM and a stock, did I make the prices as a market maker or market makers? Did I make it based on last price? No, I made it at the price So let's say I'm in the IBM pit. We need to know we're watching the bid ask of the stock, right? The whole time. And if you're in the SPX, you're watching the Standard & Poor future. So you're looking, where can you buy and sell stock, right? Because you're hedging everything, right? Market maker in the pit, I'm buying options. If I'm in a stock, I'm selling stock against it to neutralize my deltas, right? If I'm and if I'm in the S&P, I'm selling futures. So it really, I'm looking at, when you say where is the price, I'm making the price based on the stock. So let's say IBM, there's 10,000 bid for at, I'm just making up a price, $100, right? There's 10,000 bid at 100. There's only 1,000 shares at 101. I mean, that's too wide of a market. So I'm looking, when people come in and sell out, I'm pricing it based on where I can get my hedge is really. And then, so it's not really, so it's nothing to do with last price, right? I mean, it could be, in a liquid vehicle, yes, last price makes sense, right? In a liquid vehicle, but it's more, where can you hedge, right? If someone's going to do 1,000 options in SPX, right? The market maker wants to know, they're not just good, taking the opposite side and hoping for the best. They're hedging that. They're looking to maybe make 5 cents 1,000 times or $10, whatever it is. Now, as far as, so that's part of it. Now, then it gets into, well, how do you make the prices? Well, in the old days, you could have just theoretical values. Guys would carry tons of sheets. This is the theoretical, right? This is, like you go into a coin shop, right? Okay, they whip out their sheet of paper. Here's because coin shops, right? They'll buy and sell coins, right? So in the pitch, I'd have, okay, this option is worth $5. So that means I've got to make a two-sided market. I'll buy it at 480, sell it at 520, and make so I don't care, right? Now, based on inventory and order flow, I'll tweak that, right? If I'm long a lot of Vega, I'm lowering my offers, right? Because I want to sell some. I'm getting too much long Vega. Or what if my inventory, you're long a ton of calls? Well, I need to sell some calls. So I'm going to lower my offers. But in terms of how to make the markets, the accurate markets, a lot of times, probably one of the most popular ways, it's called two ways. One, reversal and conversion. Because think about it. If you're a market maker in the pit, Troy, your ideal thing is that you would love, right, to go home with no inventory. It's like a 0-day trader that just trades. They don't take anything overnight. That's the best way. I mean, wouldn't you say that's the best if someone said, Troy, no overnight risk. You make your let's say you made it $500 a day, every day, or whatever the number was. No overnight risk, no worry about volatility. Now, Troy would say, Dan, that's boring. But that's what people do. So they use a reversal conversion. What that is okay, I'm in the pit. If you buy a call, let's say the stock's $100, and I buy, I'm just calling it March. I buy the March 100 call, sell the March 100 put. That's synthetically buying the stock, and then you actually sell the stock. So if you buy a call, sell a put, sell stock, your graph is a straight line. There's no position, right? So in the pit, there would be so here's what would happen. There was a lot of sellers. The market would be going up, sellers of calls. So I'm buying calls, selling stock, right? And I'm waiting for if someone comes in and, I'm just trying to make little bits. And then sometime during the day, if somebody bought puts at the same strike and expiration of my long call, I'd sell puts, sell stock, and I could end up in a riskless position. Easier said than done. Most of the time you'd go home with inventory because we all had the same stuff. But there were relationships called jelly rolls and reversals conversions, how people priced it, because things changing. market, they'd come in and say, I have 1,000 calls to sell. Dan, you were just 2 bid. Now you're 1 3/4 bid. Well, you're changing based on the stock. So you're glued. If somebody's trading NVIDIA, the market makers are glued to the bid ask. They want to know where they can get. So if the bids are dropping, NVIDIA starts falling, and you say, I didn't get it at the mid price. I wanted to sell calls. Hey, they're watching the same game as you, buddy, right? They're watching the same game as you. And if you can't get a hedge, I'm not, you're making just a little bit. And if you can't get your hedge, you get nailed. That's why, if you said, do market makers, do they like big orders? No, because it can, what they love is, that's why the payment for order flow, they love the smaller orders, 10s and 20s and 15s and 20s. But if you get someone to come in and buy 5,000 calls, that screws it up in the pit because you won't get your hedge quick enough. And you'll, anyways,
this is working out great, because the more you explain things, the more questions there are. And I love that, because again, as I said yesterday, I could do this all day. I could just listen to him talk about what he did. Also, how much did I oversleep? My right eye, I still can't see out of my right eye. You ever do that thing, Dan, when you sleep, like you wake up and you can't see out of one of your eyes for like 10 minutes?
Oh, when you get older, it's a couple hours.
Here we go. But yeah, we're still there. I can't see anything in my right eye. But if you are in the IBM pit, are you trading stock and options? How did you hedge with futures or SPX if you're in the IBM pit?
Oh, no, you didn't. No, I'm just saying, so like the stocks, if you're trading like in the like when we went to the CBOE, the new era, Troy and I went there recently. If you're trading the stocks, there's no futures, right? So if you're trading IBM, NVIDIA, Tesla, you're a market maker in the pit today. They're hedging stock. So they don't, 90% of the time they're trading stock. You say, well, why can't they hedge options with options? Who the heck are you going to trade with? If you're, it's like you're the dealer, right? So am I going to go to the schmo next to me and say, hey, I got too many of these? He's what he's going to say to me? Dan, I got the same position you do. We're going to suffer together. We'll hug each other and we'll suffer. Who are we going to lay all this off? So it's all stock. You're hedging against stock. I'm just saying in SPY, you would hedge against SPY stock, right? If I was a market maker today. But S&P, it's not an ETF or a stock. So what are you hedging against? The S&P 500, right? At the mercantile exchange, you got to hedge something, right? Off of your order. Now, it's got more complicated these days, right? Like remember we were visiting the CBOE, Troy? It's a totally different setup, but you might it's much more institutional than before. And so you'll have like 4 or 5 Citadel broker market makers in the pit. I mean, there's many other, but these guys will trade thousands at a time, right? There's no bigger, you can trade whatever in the SPX, but they're trading it against, and I don't understand all that. They're not just hedging against the futures. They could be hedging against, Japanese yen. Who the heck knows? But
let me just say this too, real quick. This is an important point. IBM kids, think about Tesla in the 80s. That's what he was trading. For those who don't know, IBM, Tom makes a good point. You might have to explain to the kids what IBM was.
Or Micron. Micron now is had a revival. But I mean, I was actually in the Micron pit with Pete Nigerian, 2 of us, the same company, for 3 years, 8 hours a day, 3 years, just in Micron when it was real busy. Then it went slow for a while, but now wouldn't you say Micron's one of the busier?
Well, if I can't remember again, I just woke up literally, but I think Micron, I think it's just a carrier for Bitcoin. I think it's a publicly traded company that just buys Bitcoin.
And it
Michael
moves.
Salyers.
Yeah, but again, it's the thing with stock, right? Whether you're trading GameStop or you're trading Micron, we look at it and say, those guys should have filled me in the mid price. They should have filled me. Well, put yourself in their position. They're just hedging your stuff. They're looking at stock. So, and there used to, I don't know what it is these days. There used to be when I was trading, you could always buy stock, but you needed an uptick to sell stock, right? So let's say somebody bought, sold calls, right? 1,000 calls, and I bought 200 calls at a 50 delta. That's 10,000 shares I have to hedge. Well, to sell stock, you needed an uptick. So you couldn't just nail the stock. So it's, the hedge is everything, because again, we're trying to make $5 or whatever a contract. So if you can't get your hedge, I just got hurt. So that's why you don't like and you watch the order flow. You don't like Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs comes in, they'd come in at 4,000 or 5,000 contracts at a time in a stock. And so you just knew if you could just walk away and hide in the washroom in one of the stalls, you would, because you knew that was going to be a losing trade. Because to hedge 5,000 options, let's say that's 50 delta, 25,000, it's going to move the stock. And you're not, the bid at the time was not 25,000 shares, right? And a lot of times Goldman would go to 3 exchanges at the same time. So you'd completely miss your hedge. So what means is the whole day, or it could take 2 days for you to get your hedge off. So just, you don't like the big orders.
Yeah, no.
So it's that hedging thing. It's the stock. They're hedging stock.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, they do take positions. I mean, you're hedging stocks, but you're in there all day. So you're pretty familiar with the volatilities and everything. So
that was one of the questions. We got 2 more questions I want to get through today, because I think these are good kind of market maker questions. I do need to make a correction. Completely wrong. Micron is not the Bitcoin one. It's MicroStrategy, not Micron. Micron is a manufacturer of semiconductors. Tom says, "What is this, amateur hour?" At least on my screen, the left side is amateur hour. The right side is not amateur hour. So you get a yin yang of amateur and professional. It's like twins. It's like
AI
twins,
now, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't it tied with the AI now in some way, the MU?
Yeah, I don't even remember. It's like twins. What this is twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm Danny DeVito in this situation. 2 options guys, but you couldn't be more. So 2 more questions. Can you? Well, I think you might have answered this one. You're not trading NQ or ES, any of those products in the IBM pit.
No.
Okay. So
now but they are like if I'm in the SPX pit today, right? I'm a market maker today in the SPX pit. You've got a guy we'd have a guy in the pit with headphones on. That's literally got a guy standing in the ES or the S&P pit, right? So the minute I buy options, I look to him and sell me 5, right? So you're instantaneous. Now I don't know how they do it today, but you're getting instantaneous hedges, but they weren't in the same location. I mean, because the S&Ps were 3 blocks away, right?
Makes total sense. All right, 2 more, actually 3 more, because the last one's pretty good too. How did you keep track of Vega, the Greek? How did you keep track of the Greeks in your head? Like it's changing its trade. How do you do that?
Well, here's what's interesting about that. The early 80s, for a few years, we didn't have anything, right? A lot of times you'd have a card, right? You literally would have a card and you'd put, okay, I bought 5. On the card, you'd have like, okay, here's my near-term expiration. So we're in December. December in these strikes, calls on the left, puts on the right. January. And literally, and let's say you made 200 trades a day, you literally would go with a pencil. Okay, I bought 5 puts. Okay, I sold 3 of these. And you're erasing, and I mean, it sounds crazy. You're erasing it and doing it, and you're just hoping, right? And then when it's slow enough, you see, okay, I got this, this, and this. And then you kind of visualize in your mind, what does this look like? Okay, I got remnants of a strangle. I got some of these I mean, you're literally, Troy, seat of the pants. And in the morning, if you came even close to your deltas, you're like, wow, that wasn't bad. But very soon people came in with some types of computers and stuff. And so you enter the trades in there, right? Whereas now, because it's all electronic, all those trades that, if you're standing in the pit in the SPX, all those trades come in, they're in. So you're instantaneously seeing, okay, I'm getting a little bit long deltas. Here's my Greeks, and you can make quick decisions. So let's say I'm getting long deltas, right? Too long, right? And I can't get a hedge, or I don't want to get a hedge with options. All right, so I'm too long deltas. I'm going to raise my put bids, and I'm going to lower my call offers because I need some short deltas, right? Or if I'm, suddenly, massive sellers of calls, and now I'm 10,000 long Vega. Well, what the heck do I do? Well, you know what? All my offers, calls and puts, I'm lowering them, right? Right.
This actually, I think this is important and for people to realize, because it's really interesting what you just said, because you don't think about it. I mean, I think a lot of amateur / Troy traders, my people, as I'd say, I think a lot of people always in their mind think that the bid ask is the same width always. And it's moving to price. And what you're saying, and thus it's an interesting thing when you're back testing and things like that, that there are times that the market makers they have to raise the ask perhaps, because they need certain deltas, or they're raising the bid because they need certain like that's an interesting concept, right?
Well, yeah, inventory based on inventory or too much Vega or something, they've got to tweak it to adjust their positions. So they're constantly, because again, think about what a market maker's job is, to serve in a way, yes, it's to make money, and yes, you can do, you can net have Vega positions, and you can net be long or short delta. But your first requirement is this constant flow of business coming in. You need to make a market. And that's why, remember we talked to that guy that was going up the elevator with the subway.
Yep.
And I knew him from 20 some years ago. He was a young man. Now he's probably in his 40s. And he trades in the SPX pit all day. And remember we asked him, do you do the 0-day stuff? And he said, I stay away from that because, that's not edge. His edge is, and I would do the same. He's trading 6 months out, 7 months out, because the markets are wider, right? Things go slower, where 0-day, somebody buys 100 options before you even before you even know what you did, you're down X amount of money because things move so quick.
Yeah.
So it's a different mindset to do that.
Dan, are you guys okay if we go 5 minutes over today? Since that's on me. That's on me.
That's okay.
Let's go 5 minutes over.
So can I just say one comment?
Please.
It's just I don't know if Tom or anybody would agree with me on this. There's a unique perspective when we're talking right now, and I'm talking to you, and then in the upper corner, I'm seeing like a purse or something in the upper. I just think that's vintage. To see,
I want to absolutely get this out of the way because this is not a political show. And you might think to yourself, yeah, right here. They're clearly a liberal family. They've got a Hope Obama poster. I want you to understand.
Oh
no.
Oh, boy.
So anyway,
boy.
It's just that teenage irony, teenage irony. Anyway, so real quick, a couple more questions because I think these are good and things that people I know have asked you before. So if you're trying to get out at the end of the day and you want to be out of the market end of the day, you want to go home clean, what time of day do you have to start trying to get out? Like what time do you start kind of
Or a
having?
retail trader.
Well, no, for you as a market maker, if you wanted to go home clean with no positions overnight, what time do you have to start kind of working that?
Well, and that depends because again, because you're just trading one vehicle. So you have a much bigger position. Well, so here's the problem. And I'll give you the realistic answer here because these are just human beings like anyone else. So most of the people, I'll just tell this, but I think this is pretty normal. It still might hold. 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock stock stop trading, right? 3:15 would be SPX, right? So if I was trading a stock, 3:10 or 3 o'clock. So here's the key. The train at Union Station, 3 blocks down, this is important for the story, Trey. At 3:15, my train leaves to go home, right? It's about a 12-minute brisk walk. I needed to be out, or I'm sorry, 3:30. There wasn't a lot of room. So I wanted to get out at the bell, right? I wanted to get out at the bell. So usually 15 minutes before, I was real light because I'm looking at my Greeks in a market maker saying, okay, volatility you really can't fix too much at the end of the day. You could fix some, but it's the deltas, right? How do I want to go home overnight? Because that's your biggest risk is the price risk, and so more you wanted to just go home, the deltas where you want it. You didn't want the order flow to suddenly get you 5,000-6,000 deltas long or short. So there at the end of the day, I would think in most cases, I would not as a retail trader wait till the last 5 minutes to clean up because, I'm in the retail side now and execution's worse towards the end of the day, right? If I want to get a decent price on a calendar, I'm not going to wait till 10, to do that. Now it's different if, okay, I've got an order in to get out of my DC or some kind of trade, at the end of the day, I still would rather do it. For me, I'd get at least half hour before the close, right? Where people, it's just like going to a grocery, isn't it the same principle? You go to a grocery store 10 minutes before they close and you want to buy meat. And the guy's like, we just put the meat away. Well, bring the meat back out. Well, and it's the same thing. Give them a half hour, right? If you want to get it at the bid or a decent price, they've already put the meat away in the last 10 minutes or something.
That's the type of, I just have visions of my grandpa just be like, well, it's already out. Him being like, you put it right here. You bring that right back out. And put it right here. And, he was a, God bless him. So next question, and maybe the last question, the biggest question, Dan, and then we'll kind of wrap it up for the year. Yeah. But for all the zero DTD traders, is there any way that a market maker could run the SPX up 10 points in 5 minutes in order to clear out a bunch of iron condor traders sitting on the same strike?
I guess anything could happen.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible, but probably not like only because of this. I mean, when you look at the volume in SPX, it's staggering. Would you agree? And what I'm saying is, what are we talking size-wise? If it was at the end of the day, that's what you're talking about?
I mean, maybe not. Let's say not.
I don't think there's any. I mean, think about it. Even if someone wanted to do, is 2,000 options big in the pit? No.
Right.
Is 10,000 that big? No, not these days with institutions. So, I mean, I think the timing of it, right?
Yeah.
If you're going in 5-6 minutes before the close and you want to get out on some iron condors or one side at a decent price, I just think the more you wait, if you give yourself a half hour, I don't think 10,000 is a big.
I think they're ride or dies. I think he's thinking about like MEIC, like the multiple entry iron condors where you sit a bunch and they're just ride or dies,
And so the question would be,
like, but they have stops. So they're ride or dies, but they have stops. And so I think the idea of stop hunting in general, I think, is the question of like,
so if you mean getting filled on a stop.
yeah, running the price up, to get people out.
No, I don't think, no. I think a lot of that is just conspiracy stuff for the most part, right? Again, are there exceptions and everything else? But again, think of the market makers as they just want to hedge. If you come in with 10,000 options and they can get a hedge, they don't care. I mean, they're not. So with these stop orders, no, they're not going to. No, they're not going to. They can't, right? There's too much competition in there. The only way, and again, it goes back to that 2 month ago problem, right? If there's some crazy thing going on, and there's just a tweet by President Trump saying, I'm going to have a cage fight with the president of China in an hour, right? Suddenly bids, I wouldn't make, if I'm going to make a bid ask on 1,000 contracts, at that point, you're going to pay, right? Because who the heck knows what's going on, right? But I think in 99% of the situations, right? And here's the other thing. If you're noticing that it's crazy, to get filled on something, you may have to at times, take it off. I think you had a good idea that time. Remember you were saying, have a long option in it.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to play those games.
Yeah.
But I would say, to me, it sounds like, again, going back, was that October 30th? I'll just one last
October
comment.
14th is the date that they just put in the chat, which I
can't.
We were in Chicago when it happened. I remember that.
I still think, I'm still, I would love to talk to Scott Sheridan about this, but I have a bad taste in my mouth about what happened to these retail traders for this reason that when the smoke cleared, the market makers knew at that point what they were doing, right? And the CBOE years ago, I'm pretty sure, they would have said, hey, Dan, this is Fred. Fred was selling, these were puts that were triggered that were 200 points out of the money. You don't deserve that. And I'd say, you're 100% right. Let's break the trade, right? Let's break the trade. You want these customers coming back. I just think the way the CBOE handled it was wrong. You don't, I get it. They can make up all they want about, not make up, but they can say, okay, who knows what was going to happen? But there's got to be a better solution. You can make gradual stops. You don't just let someone, because there's some uncertainty, make them, be able to make some crazy markets, right? I just think there's got to be a lot more investigation into that.
It's
a very rare situation.
Yeah.
But I would love to talk to people like some of the brokers, some of the market makers and people in there like Citadel and say, hey, what happened here? Are you telling me that you couldn't, you didn't know that the guy that you were fleecing, right, had something 200 points out of the money? So I don't know the whole story. So I don't want to paint it like these market makers willingly screwed the retail customer.
Yeah.
But I just think it's wrong. And I think Scott Sheridan feels the same way. And he knows as much about the retail.
Yeah. I think electronic, I have no opinion on it, honestly. We have it in the tool because it's a real thing. You can put a stop loss on something. I think the type of trading with stop loss, again, I just fundamentally disagree with it, but it has nothing to do with whether these people should have been corrected or not. It sounds like Rob and Maria were corrected. To me, it's just a question of like, what is your risk in that spread? And I think you think that the risk is what the stop loss is. And what I think time and time again, the whole point of these busted trades is shown is that like, that's not your risk. You have more risk. The risk is in a perfect world, the spread price itself, but the stop can also go nuts, and get filled on that. So depends on the stop you've got and all that stuff.
I've never done stop loss orders, but I get why they do it in liquid vehicles. It should be okay, but there's that 1% where
Yeah.
it could go in la la land.
Yeah.
And it's like, where am I going to get filled?
I agree completely.
Anyway.
Well, listen, I don't want to go back to a bad day to end the show, stop loss. So listen, we're going to take the rest of the week off. Next week, we've got giant stuff happening. Fix My Back Test with Mark Anderson is starting. The Small Account Challenge is starting. The following week, every day you're going to get to see Dan again, because in a week we're going to get options trading live with Dan Sheridan. And so we're very excited about that. We're working on that right now. So don't think we're just sitting here sleeping or, anything like that. We're really just working. And like I always tell my kids, even when I'm sleeping, I'm working. So you got to let me sleep,
Wow.
So anyway, Dan, you got any plans for New Year's?
No, we'll probably be in bed at 9:00, maybe 9:30, but no, not too much.
I love it. Yeah. My kids desperately want to stay up till midnight because they have no idea what it means to stay up that late. So I probably won't let them, but we'll see.
I probably won't let them.
I probably won't let them.
Humbug.
Well, listen, have a great day. Be careful with silver.
Yeah.
Silver's back up. So enjoy that fun show and have a great New Year's, guys. It's been a great year, and we will see you next Monday on the OO show. So